wars in Iraq, and so on. And with the rest of the mainstream right offering no answers, the religious right, or all that kind of stuff. I knew that we had to have a new starting point. And I also knew that we needed to, this wasn't a matter just of tweaking the right as it is. This was really the matter of a new beginning, of a new starting point for conservatism in America. You can actually look at the starting point of the conservative movement, and they talk about global capitalism and free markets and the Constitution and vague Christian values of some sort. But they never asked that question of who are we? They never asked that question of identity. They probably assumed it. They probably assumed a white America, a European America, but they never really asked it and they were never conscious of it. And so the conservative movement became, in its way, a mirror reflection, a photographic negative of the Soviet Union. It became an ideological nation. It became a nation based on abstract values, like freedom, democracy, Obama, Maqamis, and Muslims. It was never a place, it was never a people. It was a kind of ideology. That's what conservatism was. And so I don't think George W. Bush was some kind of aberration or some wrong turn for the conservative movement. I think, sadly, he was an expression of that general trajectory. Not towards identity, not towards nationalism, not towards a sense of us, of who we are, but towards this abstract universalism that ends up in ridiculous $2 trillion wars in the Middle East that no one understands and no one can even remember what started them. So, in a way, George W. Bush was the founder of the alt-right. He was at least the founder of the term, because I knew that we had to get away from that. We had to get away from him. Well, she looks the part. At this point, they're literally dressing as clowns. Might tell you something. I love you. Well, so I started using the term alt-right in about mid-2008, and at that point, as I said, I don't think it had an essence quite then. It was just a sense of not that. Let's get away from W, let's get away from all that, let's start anew. From there, the alt-right evolved. It took on new meanings, and I think in a way it was outside of my control, absolutely. The alt-right has never been the Richard Spencer agenda or anything like that. The alt-right has been organic. That's why it has succeeded, precisely because other people have picked it up, they've added meanings to it and so on. But it kind of evolved with me, in a way. After I dropped out of graduate school, I worked in the, what you could call as the anti-war conservative movement. I wanted to oppose George W. Bush's agenda, but I wanted to do it from a right-wing perspective. But as I evolved too, and by around 2010, I would say that I had an idea of where that new starting place was going to be. And that new starting point was going to be identity. And that was going to be the question that we asked first. So what is identity? In a way, it's the question, who are you? We all have many different identities. You could say that you're a student at Texas A&M. You're into weightlifting. You went to a Star Trek convention. You like to wear sweatpants. It's all.
I don't know if that's my identity.
These are all elective identities. They say something about us, but they're elective. But then you can delve a little bit deeper. And you could say, I'm a citizen of the United States. I grew up somewhere. We all grew up somewhere. We're all part of something. We all come from someplace. And you can go even deeper and say, these are my parents. This is my family. The left in the 18th century had this line of an accident of birth. Accident of birth. No birth is an accident. You come. That was kind of unintentionally funny, I'll grant you that. What I mean by that, there's no historical or cosmic accident of a birth. You come from somewhere. You have parents. They have parents. They have a history. So you're part of a family, and you grew up somewhere. And you can go deeper, and you can say that you're part of an ethnicity, and you're ultimately part of a race. You might not like this. You might really resonate to the idea that we're all individuals, we're all citizens. We're just Americans. I don't see color. But color sees, that's a good line. Actually, I appreciate it. I think Trevor Noah said that to a young conservative. He says, she says, oh, I don't see color. She's not a good young conservative. And he said, what in the hell do you do at a stoplight? It's a good question, actually. We all see color. And race isn't just color. Color is in a way, minor aspect of race. But you're part of something. Whether you like it or not, you're part of a bigger, extended family. You're part of this world. You're part of this history. And that race has a story to tell. As a European, I can tell a story about people will never know. Our lives stretch back to prehistory. We first started to become ourselves in the Greek and Roman world. Thank you. This is our halftime entertainment.
It's not very good. It's awesome.
They're clowns. They're clowns.
But you're the joke.
So there's a story, and it involves people you've never met. As a European, I can tell the story about the Greeks and the Romans,
Where in Europe are you
about the
from?
foundation of our civilization, about empire,
What is he even saying?
about the coming of Christianity. No, you're wrong, sir. Oh, he's a professor. That means he must be correct. You're a... Calm down. Sure, Europe's a place. It's a place on the map. It's people and it's blood and it's spirit. That's much more important than some map. There are Europeans all over the world. If we went to space, we'd still be European.
There are black people in Europe too.
His rejoinder is to repeat himself.
There are white Africans.
Go back to Europe? It's not a bad idea. I'm not sure we want to give up this beautiful continent. I'm sorry about that. It's yours? Not really.
It's all of ours.
Calm down. So we can tell a story. We went through tumults, we went through reformations, we went through revolutions. And we are who we are, and I think we've learned something about ourselves. That's a story I can tell as a European. I think if I were an African American, I could tell a very different story.
Tell us the story. Tell us the story.
Why did that end?
No, tell us the story. We want to know it.
Like what?
Yeah, tell it to us.
I would say if I won't speak for you, but if I could, I'm kind of getting mad at weird things that I say to you guys. When I won't speak for you because I don't know you. But if I were to say what that story would be, it would be about what? Yeah, of course I do. It would be about being rooted in an African continent. And I agree, and enslaved and kidnapped. And it was a terrible thing. And going through trials that maybe I can't imagine, but then becoming a people.
There are Africans in
You're
Europe.
still a people. That's the story I would tell, but it's a different story.
You've convinced us all you're not mean after all.
What?
You've convinced us all that you're not mean after all. Good job.
I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. So that's what it means to be part of a race. A race is genetically coherent. A race is something you can study. A race is about genes and DNA. But it's not just about genes and DNA. The most important thing about it is the people and the spirit. That's what a race is about.
Oh, really?
A lot of white people don't want to have a race. They think, oh, I'm just an individual. I'm just an American. You have a race whether you like it or not.
It's called the human race.
That's really original, man. I've never heard that one before. That's awesome.
It's also true, like what you're saying.
Yeah. She's dancing. Perhaps she'll lose some weight.
Whoa! Hey! Bro, what?
Hate speech isn't protected.
I want to beat this guy's ass.
Keep
You are an
moving.
asshole.
Keep moving.
I didn't come here for that.
You're part of a race whether you like it or not.
It's weight about white
When a
supremacy.
Syrian refugee, so-called, whether they're from Syria or Africa or somewhere else in the Middle East, when they enter Europe,
Africa?
when they enter Europe, they don't look at anyone as, oh, looky there. This man, he's Bavarian. Oh, he's a Bavarian Catholic. Oh, look, this guy must be from Ireland. Interesting. He's Italian. No, they don't see that at all. They see us as white. They see us as white men. They see us as a race, and our enemy can define who we are, whether we want to define ourselves as such or not. We are white.
I really want to know.
So that is the foundation of identity.
Oh.
You can go up, you can look at elective identities. I'm into weightlifting, I'm into Star Trek. And you can keep going
Same
down.
examples.
And you go down and down and down, and you get to the root of identity. You get to that base that you can't go any further. And that is race. In America, we have a very peculiar conception of race. This has been perhaps the most racialized continent. It was a place, it was an open country.
It belonged. Not
It
really.
was an open country for Europeans who confronted people who were radically different than
How
they
was
were.
it?
And that confrontation, I'll be honest, was terrible, bloody, and violent.
How is it open if people live there?
It was terrible, bloody, and violent.
But there was no one there. That's what you just said.
But we conquered this
It
continent.
was open. If it was open, how was it bloody and violent? If it was open, who are you killing?
Whether it's nice to say that or not, we won. And we got to define what America means. We got to define what this continent means. America, at the end of the day, belongs to white men.
Native American men? And how are you a woman that supports that?
I love you too.
No, I just want to know, how are you a woman that supports that?
Thank you for coming. While I was coming here on the airplane, I actually rewatched perhaps my favorite movie, and that is John Ford's The Searchers. Raise your hand if you've seen that film. Wow, very few. Go out and watch it. I can see the pounds just washing off her.
Is weight a part of white supremacy too?
There's a moment in that film that I love. It actually comes from a very minor character. It's one of the Sorgensons, which is I guess a Swedish family. This movie, The Searchers, takes place in Texas. It's a brutal movie. It's about Indians capturing this young white child, Ethan, played by John Wayne, and his companion chasing after them for years and months. There's a moment when this woman, Sorgenson, she says, her husband, Lars, says, oh, you know, Texas killed, this country, this terrible country killed my boy. Their boy died, seeking on a revenge mission against these Indians. The Indians killed him. And Mrs. Sorgen said, no, the country didn't kill your boy. We're Texicans.
What?
And that means we're a human man way out on a limb. We're going to be out on that limb for years, for decades, maybe 100 years. But we won't be out on that limb forever. At some point, Texas is going to be a wonderful place to live. It's going to be a great place to live. But perhaps our bones have to be in the ground before that will happen. Texas is a wonderful place to live. And there are a lot of the white man's bones in the ground to make that happen. White people did it. And I'm not going to ever claim that there wasn't a lot of brutality that went along with it.
What's your point?
But,
Get to it.
but we did it. Our bones are in the ground. We own it. At the end of the day, America can't exist without us. We defined it. This country does belong to white people. Culturally, politically, socially, everything. We defined what America is. But things change. The architect is what matters. It's the genius behind something. It's not just
Black people help with that too. Wait on. Do your research.
Other people could have done it. But no one could have imagined it. No one could have designed it. Because no one else did. History's proof.
History was written by the white man.
I've never been called that before. Sorry. So, but things change. What is America now? What is it? Is it great?
Not yet.
Not yet. I think that's probably true. You know, make America great again. It was a slogan that captured the imagination, really, of the world. And it's
The world?
Absolutely.
How are you speaking for the world?
That means I love you. Yeah. Embedded in that slogan, "Make America Great Again," is its opposite. And that is an acknowledgement that America is not great. I think we know that. I think we know that in our bones and our guts, that things are getting worse. Previous generations couldn't imagine that their children would have a worse world than they enjoyed, even a worse world than their parents enjoyed. Now 75% of white people think the country is on the wrong track. Who could disagree with them exactly? Does anyone think it's getting better? Yeah. It is now. Maybe. Let's
Who are you asking?
cool down the autism a little bit.
I guess white brings the mentally ill to the house.
Okay. So make America great again. Not an A&M. Make America great again. The opposite is embedded in that statement. That's what makes it in a way so powerful. We assume that America is not great, and it isn't. And why isn't it great? Because of me. That was a cute refrain, yeah. Because of me. Because of me. America is not great because in my lifetime, America has lost an essence. It's lost a people. It's lost a meaning. If you listen to presidential inaugurations, either these times when presidents will go up and tell us what this is really about, and get everyone fired up. They won't talk about America as an historic nation, as a people with a story, as the product of a race, of a worldview. They basically talk about America as this platform for all of humanity. They talk about America as an economic system, effectively. Many have talked about the Roman Empire's decline. It went from being a people to being a population, then to being a mob. I think that says a lot about the fall of Rome. America went from being a frontier to being a people, then to being an economic platform for consumers from around the world. And let there be no doubt, Americanization in this worst possible sense of the word. This is what Hillary Clinton was talking about when she said she wanted a hemispheric open market. This is what George Soros or Mark Zuckerberg want. They want an undifferentiated global population, raceless, genderless, identityless, meaningless population, consuming sugar, consuming drugs, while watching porn on VR goggles, while they max out their credit card. If you don't deny that that is the kind of passive nihilism that so many in the elite class actually want.
Do you watch them?
They want a world without roots. They want a world without meaning. They want a flat, gray on gray world, one economic market for them to manipulate. That's what's happening in the world. It isn't just a great erasure of white people. It isn't just an invasion of Europe, an invasion of the United States by the Third World. It is ultimately the destruction of all peoples and all cultures around the globe.
Paranoid.
they're just out to get me. That's what America has become. We might not all be able to put it into those words, but we know that that is what America is becoming. It's becoming an homogeneous, consuming mass, and no one wants it. Whether you're black or white or Hispanic or Asian or whatever, no one wants that.
Tell me what the blacks think.
And that's what America has become. I agree with liberals who might say, oh, Donald Trump, he's vulgar, he's ridiculous. Listen to what he's saying, this is crazy. Look, I agree. But just the fact that Donald Trump said that word great, make America great again, meant that he had higher hopes than the Clintons and the Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates and the George Soroses combined. That he had a sense of height, of upward movement, of greatness, of that thing that makes the white race truly unique and truly wonderful, that striving towards infinity, that however vulgar he might be, that he had a sense of it. And that's what inspired the alt-right. That's what made Donald Trump an alt-right hero. So this is where we are. We're in a battle between that other America, that America we don't want to talk about. That America that has our bones in the earth. That America that white Americans died for, that white Americans defined. And we have this other America that's just coming into view. This America that is a nihilistic economic platform for the world, that's taking over the world and destroying everything in its path. That's where we are. We're at a tipping point. What we need right now, people who are willing to speak truth to power. I find there's this amazing thing about the left. And I have a certain respect for the left, believe it or not. That's cute. Yes, he's showing an image of suicide on a placard that he kind of, yes, that's what he's about. What a wonderful man. You know, I do have respect for, I understand the left in a way. People I do understand them. People I don't really have respect for, to be honest, are the kind of gutter punks that spend their life protesting other people, that their life is so empty, so meaningless, that they have to fill up that void with hatred of people who actually care about their religion. And I'm referring to people like you. At the end of the day, do you see me protesting some Marxist gathering somewhere? I don't care. Go knock yourself out. Go talk about
Now you're inciting violence.
Ruined Rissa. I'm exciting violence?
Yes.
Yes.
It's inciting.
Inciting violence? Yeah. I doubt that. Okay, I'm fine, Preston.
Okay.
Speak. What I find fascinating is that the left always believes.
No one. Who put their hand on who first? The cops are here for a reason.
All right, quiet down.
Do you see who put whose hands on who first? He never touched it.
Wow. Let's sit down. Let's sit down, everyone.
You can sit down.
Hey everyone, let's sit down and talk with each other.
You can sit down.
How did I start? Give me a break. Thank you. Thank you. Let's sit down and talk. Good.
Tell your friends not to touch nobody, then we will.
Sit down, let's talk. I'm about to finish up. I'll give everyone a chance to Q&A.
Thank you.
All right. What? Let's sit down. Let's sit down. Everyone, okay, good.
Y'all ain't better than nobody.
Good. Good.
I say we sit.
It's all right. It's all right. Everything's cool. So, what I find truly amazing about these types of people.
What type of people?
I'm not referring to you. Don't get excited.
Who is
every time I
me?
use a generalization. We have to communicate in some way.
Well,
What I find so amazing about the people who are protesting me out there, who are attempting to create the largest safe space in the world, 100,000 people at Kyle Field. What I find so amazing about them is that they think they're the underdog. Let me let you in on a secret. Richard Spencer is not the establishment.
Refer to
Richard
yourself in the third
Spencer
person.
is not running the government.
Third person.
Richard Spencer is effectively a heretic in the modern age.
Truth.
In terms of, think about those places of power. The US military, public education, academia, major corporations, whether they're financial on the East Coast, Silicon Valley, what have you. What do they all agree on? Diversity is good. We're all the same. We're one world. Come on, man. We all bleed red. You might think that that is that kind of limp liberalism is some underdog perspective, that you're speaking truth to power by saying that nonsense. You are not speaking truth to power. The military-industrial complex agrees with you, so does every major corporation, so does the U.S. government. You are not speaking truth to power, you are power speaking. These institutions do not want you to have a sense of yourselves. They do not want you to have identity and rootedness. They do not want you to have duties to your people. They do not want you to think of yourself as part of an extended family that is bigger than any single individual. Because the moment you have those duties, the moment you have that identity, is the moment that you are no longer the perfect, passive consumer citizen that they want to create. Have an identity. I don't need to tell black people in this room to have an identity because you all got it. You know who you are.
Amen. Thanks for telling us.
Dude, you're really good. I mean, honestly, this world needs a better class of heckler. I mean, just look at yourself. Go away. No way.
Yeah, you were referring to yourself as third person.
Have an identity. I don't need to tell that to African Americans. I probably don't need to tell that to Native Americans or Indians or Asians or anything. But I will tell that to white people. Have goddamn identity. Have a sense of yourself. Be a part of this family. You are not an individual. You are not just an American. You are not just a citizen. You are part of this family, and be a part of it. Find that within yourself. Find that shadow of self. not the day-to-day self. Find that shadow self, that European, that hero within you. Be that person.
How can you be American and European?
Having an identity is the greatest challenge to the power structure that there is. Speaking truth to it means speaking the truth about race, about people, about nation, about who we are. You are not a rebel when you mouth this tired, boring, annoying, left-wing pablum of the so-called anti-fascists, or of all these sinecured academics, people with 6 or 7-figure salaries who think they're Marxist revolutionaries. You are not speaking truth to power when you mouth their tired bullshit. Have an identity. Be something bigger than yourself. Become who you are. Become a member of the people. And speak truth to power, my brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. All right, let's do Q&A. This is where the fun begins, eh?
Can we walk out? Yes. Can we walk out?
I don't think you want to stay.
You're going to give out cards and then you're going to write. No, that makes no sense.
We are white people. We have power.
For
As
what?
long as you're a man, though. Because women, not to them.
I don't speak for you. I speak for everybody who stayed in their seat.
Go
I
Blake.
ran in and tried to break it up. A&M is an inclusive people. We
That's
talk
a
about
damn
trying to be
lie.
together. Are we trying to be together?
No.
I don't agree with anything you say. I'm here to just sit and passively observe. I came to respect his right of free speech. We all need to do that. We all need to do that.
No, hate
We
speech
don't
ain't
need to
covered by
start
the
fighting in
amendment.
the middle of it. All right, he has every right to be here, just
we
like
don't.
we have every right to say what we do, but we do not need to fight. That is the root of our problem in this country, is the inability to listen to people with opposing ideas. So I sat right here in the front row with my mouth shut the whole time. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, Q&A. We could do this writing on cards thing, but I think it's maybe more fun if you just come up here and talk to me. So, we'll actually, why don't you hold up this mic? If you'd like to ask me a question, please form an orderly line right here. Okay, guys, let's do this. Stop coming up. I'm really glad you guys want to talk, but just keep a line basically at this length, and don't come up to the line until 2 or 3 people have gone, just so we don't have a big pile up in this center. All right? But you can talk to me directly, and I will use the podium mic.
Scared.
Okay, so 2 questions. First, can I get you to sign this real quick?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Secondly,
He's
how's a
drinking
European
wine.
American, what's best for me to move forward with the alt-right movement?
What's the best for what?
So, as a European American, what would you suggest a course of action to move forward with the alt-right movement?
Okay, good question. I could write a book on that last question. I will definitely sign your Donald Trump. Yeah, that's our man. In terms of what we should be doing,
You're so concerned.
right here. In terms of what we should be doing, our immediate goal, and something that we can actually accomplish, is raising consciousness. I don't know how history is going to unfold, I don't know what opportunities are going to be there. I don't know what Donald Trump is going to do. But we need to raise identitarian consciousness amongst our people. That is something you can do by sending out a tweet. That's something you can do by attending this rally. It's something you can do by writing a book. But that is an achievable goal that we can accomplish. And I would also say, as excited as I was on election night, and believe me, I was euphoric, we need to be willing to criticize Donald Trump. I am worried about Donald Trump becoming just another Republican and not fulfilling the promise of his campaign. So that is something that definitely the alt-right can do, because only we can criticize him in the right way.
Hi. So you're banned from Europe, the continent you love so much, for spreading Nazi propaganda.
No.
Oh, where you are for the next 3 years, you're banned. How do you marry this with your love of Europe?
I guess I should ask, how do you pair that question with your utter lack of logic?
Answer the question.
Therefore, I can't love. It's a fact. I can't love Europe because some governments in Europe banned me from entering. It just doesn't make sense. Theresa May, who banned me from the United Kingdom, is not Europe. It's the Schengen zone. You've read my article. Good. You've looked me up. Yes, I'm banned from the Schengen zone, but I will be free to enter Europe once again in 2017. So, Richard Spencer World Tour.
Answer the question.
How do I, look, you're saying, how does this gel with my love of Europe? You're just based on faulty assumptions. I don't love the current governments of Europe. I think the current governments of Europe are shit.
So what do you love?
So of course they should ban me.
Other than yourself.
I would be worried if they didn't ban me, to be honest.
So what do you love about you?
Wow, that's when it actually
What are your views on Milo Yiannopoulos and safe space thinking?
I don't safe space thinking in the sense of, you know, trigger warnings and a place. Yeah, obviously I think that's totally stupid. Look, I almost want to thank President Young for hosting this rally across the street, which I hear was just a terrible failure. But I almost want to thank him because the fact that they want to fill a football stadium for the world's largest safe space shows how much power the alt-right and our ideas have. The more energy they direct towards us, the more powerful we become. We'll become more powerful than they could ever imagine. So thank you, Dr. Young. However, I would say this. The fact that Dr. Young was ostensibly attempting, or is he a doctor? Is he a PhD?
You aren't.
Some kind of
Dropout.
Yeah. Dr. Young. The fact that Dr. Young was attempting to stifle speech with this failed rally across the street does not speak well for academia, even in a ostensibly conservative university like Texas A&M. The fact is, he is doing that to try to drown me out, to try to prevent students from listening to me and prevent students from engaging with me. If there is not an antithesis to the ideal of an academical village, then that, I don't know what is. But look, all I can say to Dr. Young is, it didn't work. We're all here. I'm engaging with students. My voice is getting out there. I'm communicating to millions of people through all the media, through everyone here that's tweeting about it. So we won, you lost.
Hi. So I came here and I'm in opposition to what you think, but I sat through everything that you said. What kind of support have you got from politicians with the alt-right movement, and what kind of politicians have reached out to you to learn more about it?
Good question. I was talking to Donald Trump this morning, and I asked him. No, that's not happening. Very few, almost no politician has reached out to me. I certainly have lots of contacts in Washington. From what I hear from other people is that at every conservative cocktail party, the conversation will eventually go to the alt-right. It's kind of that. There's some law, what is it, Goodwin's law on the internet? Godwin's law on the internet, that every internet conversation eventually becomes about Hitler or something. Yeah, every conversation at cocktail parties amongst conservatives will eventually go to the alt-right. We've made contact, they definitely know who we are. No one cares about conservatives. I mean, no one wants to listen to these boring people say all their nonsense anymore. People are excited about the alt-right. The media wants to learn about the alt-right. So, we are going to displace the old guard. And I always knew this would happen, but I never knew when that breakthrough would occur. And if someone told me that breakthrough would occur through a Donald Trump presidential campaign, if someone told me that 2 years ago, I'd be like, what are you smoking? But it happened. So it's only a matter of time. I would say that Donald Trump is pretty sui generis. I don't see another politician actually in the United States who really resembles him. There are a couple people who make some noises like him, but no one is Donald Trump. But at some point, the paradigm is going to change. At some point, conservatives aren't going to be like Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush or any of those guys. They're going to be people who resemble the alt-right. They're going to be people who are identity politicians. And that's only a matter of time. Thank you.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Excellent. First, I'd like to start out by extending a welcome to you, because I am not a huge fan of anything that you've said. However, I firmly believe in the freedom of speech, and I firmly believe that challenge is actually done in this room and not across the street. So I will give you that one. 2 questions. The first one is, you spoke about trigger warnings and safe spaces and whatnot. My question kind of is, what triggered you?
What do you mean?
I mean, you feel that the white nationalism is your calling. So what moment was it where you woke up and you realized, wait a second, I need to do something about this? What was your trigger?
I was like this in the womb.
Awesome. And my second question was slightly more data behind it. So I've got a William and Wolf thing here, the president of the National Academy of Engineering, speaking before the 109th U.S. Congress on September 15th, 2005. And in there, he basically says that, in 2009, foreign students were 27% of the science and engineering master's degrees, and 33% of the doctoral degrees, and 55% of the PhD students in engineering in the United States were foreign-born as of 2004. Now, we've got a public education system that's being cut left and right in all sorts of states, Republican and Democrat. And we've got migrant farmers who are basically the only ones willing to do all the work. You can ask the farmers in Georgia for sweet potatoes as well as tomatoes. So my question to you is, that immigration ban or moratorium that you were posing that would last for 50 years, would you actually have America stupid and starving while we try and...
I want white people picking sweet potatoes. We can goddamn do it ourselves. We can make our own beds. We can mow our own goddamn lawns. Let's talk to each other.
Look and see who hits who first.
Let's talk to each other. The idea of automation is another thing that's important, but the idea that without mass immigration, that the founding people of this nation, the people who created America, would be stupid and starving, is not just insulting, it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. But I would say this, even if I agree with your faulty assumptions that America would be stupid without the great benefit of the third world. Even if I agreed with that faulty assumption, I would still prevent immigration because this is our goddamn country.
What about from Europe? I thought you were so proud of Europe.
By saying I agree with absolutely nothing you've said throughout this entire presentation, except for the fact that Texas is a great state. But it is not because we have selected a specific minority group, a specific group within our country, but because of all the people who make this country, all the diversity we have in this country. And with that, I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay.
So you talk about creating this Make America Great Again, returning back to our great roots, like I guess that previous ancestors had before us. But you barely touched on it, and you tried to avoid the situation that minorities and ethnic groups were literally stomped on in order to make this. We have oppressed minorities within our country for hundreds of years, and that is how we got that greatness. And so you're saying we revert back to those ways in which we achieve this greatness by infringing upon the rights of the minorities and the ethnic groups within our country.
No, it's not good to be a minority. I totally agree with you. That's why I don't want my children to be minorities. You enjoy being a minority.
Not the question.
You're just saying that minorities were stomped upon. I actually won't really deny that. Minorities were absolutely mistreated. Absolutely. That's why it's not good to be a minority.
It's great to be a minority.
But it's great. Okay, you guys gotta get your message straight. Is it good or bad to be a minority? I would say it's generally speaking bad. It's not good to be a president.
No, it's great. It's pretty good.
Look at the history of multiracial nations. It's a history of conflict, it's a history of distrust, and it's ultimately a history of blood and tears.
You didn't even answer that.
I'm glad you guys agree with my message. Speak truth to power, my brothers. Absolutely. There's so many fans here at A&M. It's awesome. I love it. I love you.
You do not.
Well, I got told by Mike and Span and all the other guys at TRS that I have to come give a shout out to you.
Great, thank you. TRS forever, absolutely.
But one quick question for you and your opinion on something. Only white people have ever been on the moon. That means it's ours, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Absolutely. I'll say. Not just a plot of land, it's blood and spirit. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bethany. I'm a senior political science major. I just had a couple of questions for you. Well, you talked a lot about race and identity, and I know you probably know what appropriation is, like that kind of stuff.
Like cultural appropriation? Yeah.
Okay, so I know you said that white people are unique and they're great and they're basically amazing. But I wanted to know, like,
I
if
agree.
you think
You're right. Okay,
no,
thanks
I'm
for your question.
Well, I'm not saying.
No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay. Well, okay. So, if they are, why do you think that white people need to be told to find an identity? And also, like, do you know? Not like this is nothing on your intelligence. I'm just asking, but like, what is your definition of identity and race? Because I've been confused. Because like. As my professor told you repeatedly that European is not a race, I'm not sure if you know like what race and identity is and why you feel the need, like why white people feel, or why you think white people need to be told to find an identity. Because as far as I'm concerned, they have one. They've just been trying to thrust it down other people's throats. So.
I actually agree with a lot of things that you said there. I think whites are, in a way, victims of our own success. We have this strange desire to transcend ourselves and to think that what is ultimately derived from our being is universal. Opposition. We want to transcend ourselves. I think that's a big problem with white people, actually. Whatever problems Africans have or whatever problems Asians have, they don't have that problem. They never lose that sense of themselves while they try to achieve some kind of universalization. And I agree that white people have been trying to shove down the throats of the rest of the world, the kind of, in a way, worse aspect of ourselves. We've been trying to shove down the throats of the world, you know, white people as consumers, white people as money people, white people as identityless cogs. And I want to stop that, to be honest. I want you to have identity. I really do. Thank you.
Have identity. Didn't answer the question.
Okay, well, my name is Kirby T. I'm a environmental science major, biology minor. So, this is not to be confrontational. I just really wasn't understanding where you're coming from, but I did write it down, so I got you. So, my question was, how can you say that no one else would achieve what whites did when you committed genocide against the population that currently owned the place, and then stole basically the racial population that we call African Americans today, which also, you know, facilitated the growth of this country, if y'all didn't know. And then also, I also wanted to know how you say that whites are, I guess, adept in areas that they haven't fully come to terms with mentally. Like, there's certain things that they can quote unquote achieve, and that, you know, apparently they're just the best and can do everything, but no other racial group did it. That was your statement, correct?
I didn't say that.
No other,
well,
other racial group.
let me pick up on some ideas you're putting forth here. Yeah, in the words of Jack Donovan, you know, every other race engaged in mass murder and slavery and colonization. White people were just really damn good at it.
Bragging about violence.
I'm not going to claim that history isn't a slaughter bench, because it is. And I'm not going to claim that my ancestors haven't engaged in all sorts of brutality, because I won't. We are capable of greatness. We are capable of going to the moon, ultimately capable of going to the stars. We're also capable of...
Star is a big ball of burning gas. You will be burnt up.
That contributed and facilitated that growth that you call your own.
Oh,
did you do research on it or?
There's a new film called Hidden Figures or something, where black women brought us to the moon.
You should have to look at that too.
What was that government monument by Benjamin?
I would Google Black Inventor Myth.
The last part of my question was, well, you're currently about to be replaced by those of Asian and Latino descent, and you had a head start, so I'm just trying to figure out how can you say you were the best when you never allowed yourself to be open to fair competition to prove your worth.
We had a head start. I think that's kind of begging the question. How did we have a head start?
Because you killed everybody else.
Yes, white people had a head start because, yes, white people had a head start in the United States. Of course we did, because we're dominant. We're not being replaced by them. No, we're not literally being replaced by them. We're not literally being... I agree, they are. They're changing the demographics. We're not literally being replaced by them. I don't want to get into an argument of semantics, but no. I hear you. We're not literally being replaced.
Answer her question.
What was your question again? Really quick, one sentence. Right, it's just kind of a non sequitur, to be honest. I'm sorry.
Right?
It's like, yes, we are, this is not a wonderful state for the white race at the moment. I would never say that. We hate ourselves. We're weighed down by our own guilt. I want to overcome that. Absolutely. But it just, yeah. I don't know what to say. It just there's no logic Okay, good. Well, I'm good, then I don't have to answer more. Okay.
Thanks for coming out here, Richard.
Sure, my pleasure.
It's definitely the current
I love you guys too, absolutely. Thank you.
Shout out to the Proud Boys out there.
Proud Boys.
Who is that? Do you see the alternative right becoming more of a cultural right? If you look back at neoconservatives, conservatism in general, there's no real culture there at all. And I want to appreciate you for, I guess, helping facilitate, something new for us that, I've been looking for this for a long time. And
Awesome. I think what you're saying is very important. When you think about the left in, say, the late 60s and 70s and 80s, they actually lost a lot of elections, a lot of presidential elections, but they won the culture. They won the music, they won Hollywood, they won novels, they won all of these hugely important cultural spheres. And that was actually much more important than winning the White House. So absolutely, if the alt-right is going to have an impact, it's going to be a cultural impact first and foremost. I don't think there's ever going to be a president who's going to say, oh, I'm the alt-right president. But if we can influence how people think, if we can influence culture makers, that would be tremendously powerful. Absolutely.
also, it's my birthday. Would it be possible to have a drink afterwards?
Yes. Absolutely, I'm buying.
Why are you drinking?
So you began by talking about identity, and you mentioned all the identities that we choose, and contrasted them with the identities that we didn't choose, that you said are deeper, the ones about where we grew up and our family and our race and all those things. What makes those things deeper? Because it seems to me that that I, as someone who has chosen to study logic and make that my career, have this deep connection to the history of logicians of many different cultures, and I feel that the story of Aristotle to Russell to Frege to many different people is much more part of my identity than the person who just happened to give birth to the person who happened to give birth to the person who happened to give birth to me. I don't know who that person was. I do know who these other people were. These people, the ones who contribute to the cultural story that I have chosen to take part of, those are the people that seem to me to give my deepest identity in a way that the ones who just happen to contribute some genetic matter don't seem particularly relevant.
I'm not really contrasting elective identities to given identities. And I'm in a way saying that your elective identities are to a large extent a product of your given identities. You can't get away from your parents. You can choose to study poetry, you can choose to study music, you can choose to study logic. But you can't get away from the people who gave birth to you. You can't get away from your racial identity. And so I'm not really contrasting, I'm just saying that these are all kind of parts of what makes you a whole.
At what point does safety come as a replacement to free speech?
Howdy. So, a few things. First of all, I apologize for anyone who came up here and caused that ruckus. That was very unprofessional of us, and I'd like to apologize for that.
Thank you.
Secondly, you are right in stating that Texas A&M is one of the most conservative universities in this nation, and for that reason, we will not stand by your rhetoric. I was highly disappointed in what I heard. And thirdly, you talk about...
The left agrees with you. Does that tell you something about conservatism, perhaps?
Well, honestly, I'm not too worried about
it's useless
right now. I'm glad with anybody who stands against this rhetoric. But anyway, on to my question.
How brave.
Thirdly, you talk about identity politics a lot, and I agree that identity politics have taken over the U.S. as of late, with groups such as, most notably, Black Lives Matter, racial divisions becoming very tense in this nation. However, wanting to set up some kind of white power group in opposition to that, would you not believe that that would just make race relations worse and ultimately would not lead to peace, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I am not the cause of racial divisions in the United States. To say that is to dramatically overestimate my power and to misunderstand it. the cause of this racial division, which you've alluded to, which I, of course, acknowledge, is this current paradigm that we're living in. And that current paradigm is mass immigration, multiculturalism, anti-white discrimination, and anti-white guilt. This complex that haunts everyone. Maybe it haunts you. That is the cause of racial division in the United States, not me. I am offering a way out. I am offering a solution that is grounded in an understanding of human nature. I'm not offering a kumbaya solution of the conservative movement, which is that we want to get everyone believing in a constitution, and then we're going to not have any more racial divisions. That is not going to work. That has been tried, and it has utterly failed. The alt-right is about a new beginning.
So what's your solution?
Good evening.
Hello.
So my question is very similar to that gentleman's question. With the left, identity politics has failed. We saw that in this last election. Libertarianism, free speech, free individual freedoms have come out on top, at least in 2016.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm not
no?
sure I agree with you, but keep going.
Yes, no? Okay.
I'm just keep going. I'll
Okay.
let me see here what your argument
All
is.
right. So my question for you is, why do you think that it should be more about race and not about the culture?
Okay, I see what your argument is. I disagree with your assumptions. I do not believe that free speech or individual rights won in 2016. Why I support Donald Trump and why I think Donald Trump is a fascinating phenomenon, why I'm still excited about everything that he accomplished, is because he was the first step towards white identity politics in the United States. He was definitely not the last step, he was not the final word, but he was that first glimpse, because he never defined his campaign in the way that you did. In his Republican acceptance speech in Cleveland, Ohio, I was there, he never mentioned words like freedom or so on. He said that the system is rigged, the system's rigged against you. I understand the system and I will be your champion, I will be your voice, I will stick up for you. When he's saying I'm sticking up for you, he is talking to his voters, 90% of whom are white. That Donald Trump represented the first step towards identity politics. That's why he's interesting. Ted Cruz didn't win. You know, if Ted Cruz had won, maybe I would be like, all right, sure, individual constitutionalism won or something. Ted Cruz failed. Donald Trump won. Identity politics is what won.
Yeah, okay. So you believe that when he says he wants to stand up for the American people, he is not talking about individualism or Constitution-granted rights? No. You believe that it's more about white people?
Yes.
Come on, Rob.
As a young black man in this country that was born here, how do you intend to make him leave?
I'm not making you leave.
So what's your plan with us? What are you going to do with all these people who are here? What do you intend to do with us with this white country that you want to have? So what do you intend to do?
You were a citizen, you're here.
So what do you want to do?
This entire conversation is about identitarian consciousness for white people.
And what will that incite?
Incite? It's going to incite
You're not going to give me an answer.
politics and a new key. It's going to incite a different. I know they're hissing at us.
A few questions.
It's going to incite a different kind of politics than what we've had in the past.
He has a question
for you. So in this America where
Can I see your shirt? Dream like Martin, lead like Harriet Tubman, I guess, fight like Malcolm, think like Garvey. I think like Garvey. Do you know?
In this world,
But you don't want to think about anybody other than white people.
Madison Grant and Garvey were actually
Anyway,
sorry.
In this America where white people accept their white identity, their white culture, their whiteness, do you feel that people of color should still have their rights?
Yes.
So how can you say that you as white people did this when there were black former slaves who fought for their freedom. There are black people who still fight for white people, black people, brown people, all people's freedom in this country today. And in our American history, there are white people who tried to, take away from other white people, saying only land-owning white individuals could have the right to vote. How can you say that this is something that you as white people have done, that white people built this country when when there are black people who have fought for it, still fight for it, and there are in our past, white Americans have taken
white people are an indispensable, central people who defined this country culturally, socially, and politically. Yes, there was brutality involved.
So other white people couldn't have that, so they defined it upon.
Look, this kind of thing of like, oh look, someone at one point said that the Irish aren't white, or at one point there was ethnic conflict, therefore we could never have anything like white identity. Again, look, you can find something in history, but what we have to think about is where are we now? Where have we evolved? Where are we going? We're not going towards anti-Irish bigotry. It's ridiculous. We're going towards racialization, a sense of a bigger family. That's where we're evolving. That's where history is moving us.
And how can you say, again, that white people in this country, when there are certain things like affirmative action, which help a lot of white people, that came through a lot of fights, civil rights era.
Affirmative action is not helping white people.
Affirmative action helps white women more than anybody.
If you say that, then effectively
are they not white handicapped? Are they not white handicapped people? Are they not white veterans? Are they not white women? Because affirmative action helps those people as well.
Look.
If you weren't going to answer the question, why you have Q&A?
Hi. So I'm a senator at A&M, so this question is on behalf of my constituents.
You're what at A&M?
I'm a senator.
Senator, what is that? What is a senator?
He was voted in.
On behalf of my constituents, the question is.
So you're like you're a representative of students?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
No, I don't know what it is.
I represent 40,000 off-campus students.
Wow.
So on behalf of one of my constituents, a senior in the Corps, he wanted to know, what are your feelings about you speaking in the MSC, which is a memorial to those who have died for freedom?
A memorial for those who have died for freedom?
Yes, sir.
I don't get it. They died for freedom of speech. They died for you to be here to hear new viewpoints. I don't understand the question. They died for moments like this. Oh, look.
They were very racial Americans and segregation, Jim Crow laws. They did fight for equality, I guarantee you that.
A lot of these, I have to say that's how that would be my first answer to the question, is that they died for freedom so that you and other people could come listen to speakers like me, to be honest. But I would say this, I am not one of these conservatives that just loves all these wars that America's been involved with. The Civil War, what a great thing that was. No, that was not a great thing. That was a terrible thing.
I'm pretty sure
the world wars were
conservatism did not
terrible
exist
things, in
back
my
then.
opinion. I wish we could have avoided all of those things. I think we almost destroyed our whole civilization over the course of about 100 years, all these damn wars between Europeans. Never again.
But I thought you loved the Europeans. It's contradictory statements.
Good evening. So I listened to you say that you don't like strong academics and people that speak from, right, you said something to that extent.
I don't like academics?
Like, for example, people with degrees and that just get up here and speak to you from an academic standpoint and things of that nature.
I didn't quite say that.
You said that. You said that.
Ask your question, I'll answer.
Right, so I'm going to just try to speak to you in plain language. So I just want to thank everyone that was able to sit through this. And so on behalf of us, I just want to let you know, I had to hear what you had to say. So you are an asshole. Fuck everyone that say, like, that's just some plain, uneducated language. But no, so now my actual question after I said my fuck yous on behalf of
Fuck you too.
I said it right. actually talked to some of your supporters. There were a couple
love you
people
too,
after
guys.
that I spoke
Absolutely.
with them who had really good conversations.
Can you listen to her question?
Right. My question is,
Okay.
I spoke to this gentleman here, and he basically told me that he's not a racist, and he was like, I don't want people to think that I am. I just have X, Y, and Z views. I get a different thing from you. I actually hear you say that you know, that the white race is superior, that this is our land, and X, Y, and Z. So, are you racist? Like, can you just go ahead and say yes? Two different things.
I would say this. Race is real. Race matters.
That's not the question. It was a yes or no question.
Hold on. Hold on. I am answering your question. You're going to have a little bit of patience. I'm answering your question. Race is real. Race matters. Race is the foundation of identity. The word racist is a fake word. No one identifies with the word racist. It's basically a word, it's a way of trying to shut down speech.
Do you feel that white people are superior? Do you think that you are better than I am?
There's no ultimate There is no.
Do you think that he's better than me? Is she better than me?
I'll answer your question. I'll answer your question. There is no ultimate objective standard whereby I would say that this race is cosmically better than the other one. What I would say, the white race is mine. It is the most important thing for me. It is unique.
So with that, I'll let you know that Black Lives Matter, Muslim lives matter, all lives matter, LGBT lives matter. And with that, I just want to know, what is their stance against this?
I would probably say that no lives matter.
No?
And what I mean by that,
Then white lives don't matter.
I don't,
no life, your life don't
buy
matter.
into this human rights dogma that everyone's a little snowflake or unicorn or something.
Who said that?
You matter when you are trying to achieve something that is greater than yourself. You matter when you leave a legacy. No lives matter in the sense of like, oh, everyone's a unique individual. What's wrong with that? I think that's liberal bullshit, and I don't believe it. I never have.
Superior. Like, I just want to get this on media coverage for the world that's watching.
I already answered your question.
No, you didn't. It was yes or no.
There is no objective standard.
Like in plain language, I want you to give me an answer.
I'm going to be as plain as I can. There is no objective standard for what anyone.
That wasn't the question.
Europe is me. Europe is unique. Europe is my.
So you don't want America.
That is my answer. I'm sorry.
The answer was yes.
We're gonna be.
Fuck him! Like again for the 10th time. Like no.
All right. Yeah. I did answer it. I'm gonna keep saying the same thing because that's my answer.
Ask him again.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
She's a woman. Get off of her.
Good. Let's talk to each other. It's not fine. All right.
You're caught here. What are y'all doing? They can do whatever they want to do.
I'm not deciding this bitch because I know how they
All right, quiet down. Absolutely no one denied her right to speak. No one denied her right to speak.
Really? Why they touch her? She ain't touch nobody. She ain't touch nobody. Why is she shy?
She was not giving back the microphone.
I thought this was a safe space to speak.
It is.
Why is the police here if they're not going to do anything? That's a great question. Why is the police here if they're not going to do anything?
As long as it's a white person getting hurt, that's the only time they care.
And you need a peppermint to get off on
Right, let's listen to the man asking the question.
The university believes you're doing nothing at all.
I don't agree with you. I'm here. I wanted to come here because I've been watching your videos, and it seems like you believe in separate. The race is becoming eventually separate into separate nations as like a good end goal that will bring more peace. This is like my first question. Is that kind of what you think?
Roughly speaking, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Seems like, wouldn't it be better and more realistic? I know you don't think it's realistic, but if we instead work towards us all getting along, and I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Yes, race is real. Yes, there is racial conflict. Preston, I've listened to your interviews where you say in a diverse society there's going to be conflict, and there is conflict in our diverse society. There's racial conflict. There's class conflict. And you say it's inevitable, and yeah, maybe it's inevitable that there's some conflict, but why throw in the towel? Like, fuck it, let's just go make separate nations, stop trying to get along, everybody. Like, I have a 2-year-old. I'm not going to say you're a 2-year-old, I'm just saying we're trying to teach her, share, just let's share this country. Let's share this land. Immigrants.
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. I would say this. If you build a house on a faulty foundation, it doesn't matter how much refurbishing you do. It doesn't matter how much fixing up you do. It doesn't matter how many gardens you build or how many beautiful facades. The house is going to collapse. If we're going to have a peaceful world, and believe me, I want a more peaceful world than what we have today, we're going to have to build societies based on the foundation of human nature. America as a global platform for all humanity, America that's this legal document, the Constitution. Ooh, Constitution. I am absolutely not pessimistic. I think that once Europeans stop farting around with all this equality and democracy nonsense, I think we will go to the stars. I think we will rival the ancients in terms of our greatness. But for that to happen, we are going to have to get over this silliness that is believed in by liberals, this silliness that is believed in maybe even harder by so-called conservatives, this silliness that America is effectively a legal document, that America is based on rights.
What would you like me to do?
We need to get away from that nonsense.
That's not nonsense. We can all rise together. And so I want to invite you.
You can't just say it, and it's not going to happen.
Well, yes, it's going to be hard. It's difficult. We have to humble ourselves. It's not easy to create peace where there's conflict, where there's historical conflict, right? But why not live for that instead of, this alt-right, fuck it, we're never going to get along, People are different races get along all the time.
All right, the kindergarten.
How many people have ever got along with someone of another race before, right? It's not impossible, and it's something we should fight for and work towards, not say it's just never going to happen.
I think we might have just a conflict of, I think your question, I think this might just be a conflict of ideals. My ideals is not the great cosmic kindergarten class in the sky where we're all sharing. That is not my ideal.
That's okay. Is that okay? Yes or no?
I'm not going to get into this conversation.
BTHO.
But your job is
what does that mean?
I just wanted to ask you.
Oh, that's very nice. And you look so boring and bourgeois. You're going to beat the hell out of me? What are you waiting for? You're wearing this T-shirt, sir. Well, I'm right here. Why don't you come beat me?
I'm sorry you feel that way. Look, this is not.
I was intending to ask a simple question, sir.
Why are you wearing a violent T-shirt that says you're going to beat? Get the hell out of here.
Spend a little time at A&M and you'll figure out what this means.
Effectively it means nothing. Because I knew you when I saw you first coming in. I've seen millions of people like you. You are a white coward. You wear some little T-shirt, beat the hell out of me. Yeah.
You're not even willing to do that. That t-shirt is total bullshit. You're not even willing to go to the gym. Look how fat you are. You can't beat the hell out of anything, sir. Seriously. I have to say, people say I am based on hate. I will be honest, I have utter
This is free speech.
I have utter contempt for losers like you, sir.
Hate speech is not covered by the First Amendment because you're afraid of what he's
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? You have no bias, no basis for what you say.
In a reality-free world in which you inhabit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad I don't inhabit it. And I'm glad most of the people in this room don't inhabit it as well. I think we're all pretty happy. But do you advocate using DNA testing to establish white identity? What makes a white? And have you undergone DNA testing yourself to establish that you are a pure white European?
Apparently, sir, most all of science and the Google Corporation disagree with you. 23andMe can easily tell you your race.
Have you been
and it can
tested,
actually
sir?
break it down.
Have you been tested, sir? You advocate testing people in order to establish their race.
People can test themselves if they want, to be honest, but I don't think that's necessary because, quite frankly, it's very easy to determine someone's race. You can look at them.
Can people self-identify?
No, people cannot just self-identify. This is the racial Dolezal question, where someone can just claim that they're a black person, even though they have zero African DNA. I think that's wrong.
So then you're advocating doing DNA testing. How do you establish white identity?
No one did a DNA test. It's easy. Race is a coherent concept. It's very, sir, don't tell me that, you studied this stuff. Race is a coherent concept. Do you believe golden retrievers are social products?
We can go into a scientific conversation about this some other time.
Have you ever looked at the word of Ali Sforza?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, you've debunked him, of course. Yeah. You have a BTHO hate t-shirt. Yeah, you must be a great intellectual.
At this point, you're not with my time.
Why are you here? Dork of the Year award goes to that guy.
The only dork is you. Stop.
Stop.
Yeah. Come with facts. Honestly.
What?
Checking on the planet, she creeps me. There are many people who want to control this culture and morality. Zuckerberg's self-proclaimed final solution to these issues is he alone is the one to control it by healing the entire world of all sickness and disease. His brown shirts are Lugenpresser, Facebook censorship, Dorsey's self-proclaimed final solution to these issues is that he alone is the one to control it by using social media. His brown shirts are Lugenpresser, Twitter, censorship, Obama's self-proclaimed final solution to these issues that he and he alone has the control to force people to cease being their hereditary race and become multiracial like him. His brown shirts are Lugenpresser, Islam, censorship of the internet. Hillary Clinton's self-proclaimed final solution to a perfect society is the Lugenpresser, censorship, crime, and corruption. And Margaret Sanger and Cecile Richards' Planned Parenthood. These are all documented. My question to you, Mr. Spencer, is a question of control. Do you envision yourself as the only man who can control society properly through the use of the alt-right?
An interesting question. I presume you're coming from a libertarian perspective. Or I don't know, I won't presume anything.
Just an old man.
Just an old man, okay. Very interesting question, I'll have to think about that. No, I don't think I or any one person can control society. However,
I will say that I am not a libertarian. I am also not a Democrat. I believe in elites. I believe that culture and society, to a very large degree, not totally, but to a very large degree, are come top down. I believe that elites set a tone for a country. I believe that elites are totally overrepresented in terms of their impact on culture, high and low, on society and institutions, and so on. I am not a radical egalitarian in the sense that I want to tear down all establishments or all elites are bad. I want to build a new elite. And this new elite will influence and impact culture and societies and institutions. No one person is going to have total control. But I would be lying to you if I said that there wouldn't be people who had tremendous power and influence in culture and society. That is the world we live in. We don't live in a world of total decentralization, individuals, and so on. We live in a world in which elites have power. We are not going to exit that world anytime soon. So the alt-right is a realist about this reality. The alt-right, as I understand it, at least. And the alt-right wants to become a new elite that is going to be much better for the people. I think one thing that you often assume is that elites are inherently antagonistic to the people. There is a different way. There's a different way where a king and a peasant can be on the same page, can have a shared future. That's the kind of world I want to see. But it's not a libertarian one.
So whites are going to rule again?
Someone is going to rule. I mean, look, to a very large degree, white people are ruling right now. White people have a tremendous amount of power. Someone is going to rule. The question is who? We have a very sick and decrepit elite in charge. This elite needs to be replaced, absolutely. But I'm not going to claim that we'll have a world in which there are no elites. There's always going to be someone in charge. There's always going to be someone setting the tone.
Hi, I was wondering how you see the future of the identitarian movement, for example, in Europe, whether you see it according to like the Austrian hipster identitarians, which is more of a pan-European identity movement, or whether, as Hans-Hermann Hoppe said, Ein Europa, 1000 Liechtenstein, 1 Europe, 1000 Liechtenstein, which is more decentralized, but it's a lot of small states or entities actually getting along with each other and trading with each other, which is the Cantwellian method, recently, as I like to call it.
Yeah, you asked a very good question, and I might need a book to answer that. I would say that I'll speak from my heart. My heart is unquestionably pan-European. I think that ethnic nationalism has, though it has given us some good things, it's actually given us a lot of bad things. And ethnic nationalism that leads to war between Europeans, that leads to hatred and suspicion between Europeans, is not good for the white race, period. So my heart is pan-European. I think that we are ultimately one people, Europe, a nation. Now, my head will tell me that a lot of these ideas are going to function through the current nation state. So, Brexit might have been, in a way, from my perspective, a little misguided, in the sense that it wasn't the European Union that allowed in these massive immigrants and so on. And actually the European Union allowed in a lot of Poles and effectively white people into Britain. So I think that Brexit was a bit misguided. However, I recognize reality in the sense that Brexit was an expression of a racial soul. It was an expression of people who wanted to be a people and wanted identity. So I would say I'm conflicted. My head tells me that a lot of these things are going to function to the nation state, but my heart is pan-European.
Thank you very much, and I'd just like to say Deus Kek and Praise Kek.
Absolutely. Praise Kek!
Alright, so I'm going to start by saying my parents always told me that you can't argue with ignorance, so I'm not here to argue. But I will start off with a couple of metaphysical concepts.
that may go over your head. I am your mother, and I am the mother of all civilization, so while you are in my presence, you are to respect me. So now I will start with, my questions.
You're my mother.
Yes, I am, and I know that's going to go over your head, but maybe you should do your research.
How?
In the interview,
Can you explain
okay,
that?
can I finish my question? No, because it's not for me to explain, it's for you to figure out. So in the interview that you did with Roland Martin.
That's a nice way to argue.
I'm not arguing as I stated, but in the interview that you did with Roland Martin, you said that the white race doesn't need anybody else to be sufficient, and you also said that you can stand alone. So I would like to know who civilized you, who taught you your math, sciences, and philosophies, so you will be able to function like a regular human. And I would also like to know, how do you think that America or whatever great nation will survive without black people, Hispanics, Muslims, anybody else, because it is us, that create all the great things that are in this world, and it is you that copy, and imitate, So I just want to know, what is your historical database? What is your data? Where is it coming from? Are you pulling it out your ass? I don't know, but I just want to know what your perspective on that is, because the history that I've been learning, where were you at when we had great African dynasties and kingdoms? Maybe in a cave. It wasn't until we civilized you and taught you how to read, write, and bathe that you were able to. So without us, what are you? Because I define you because you're me. Okay, do you understand that concept?
Okay, since you don't want to argue, I won't respond.
No, I want you to I want you to figure me out.
You just told me you did. What do you want me to do? Are you my mom? Hey mom, what should I do?
I want you to answer my question. And you are beating around the answer because you do not know the answer to your question. You do not know who you are. That's why you're struggling to find identity, because you have it.
Amen.
Everywhere that you go, you murder, you steal. Play.
I think you have a long career yelling at people in Times Square.
No, I do not. I'm just passionate about things
I've
that I'm
met
speaking
some
about.
black Israelites in my life. They've always been a good. I don't hear a question, and you told me you're not using. You're just asserting that you are superior.
I asked you who civilized you, who taught you math, sciences, and philosophy.
Well, okay. Taking your Afrocentric logic, I guess I would have. You're begging a question. So, who civilized you?
It's not Afrocentric. It's not Afrocentric. And from a metaphysical perspective, you are a second generation.
I have let you.
Answer my question.
Who civilized Europe? We civilized ourselves.
You did? Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Where's the historical evidence?
Where's your historical? Look, this argument is not going anywhere.
What books have you read?
I have not read your Afrocentric nonsensical books. Well, look, if you want to believe this, to be honest, then look, can I answer? You've talked. I'm answering.
You answered the specific question that I asked you.
I did answer your question.
Who civilized you?
We did.
You civilized you.
Yes. Who civilized you? If you're saying that yes. If you're saying that Africans are the root of all science and literature and civilization, you are saying that. Kind of an Afro-supremacist. I kind of admire you in a way, but look. Who civilized you then? You see how you're begging a question logically?
Yeah, I see that, but I civilized me, but I want you to understand that you didn't civilize you.
Okay. Look, I don't think this is going to go anywhere, so I'd let you speak your piece. I'd let you speak your piece. I'd let you speak your piece.
Thank you, sir, for being able to.
Thank you.
So Richard, I wanted to address one of the hecklers that was up here, and he's talking about, sharing the country and stuff like that. I think everybody can agree that genocide is not a good thing, right? Everybody? Y'all can agree? Yeah? So, I had two questions, I guess. One question was, what do you think about the white genocide going on in South Africa? And then I also have a second question, what do you think about the white genocide going on in Europe? And
yeah, I can answer both of those questions.
African centrist, whatever. I'm pretty sure the colonists that showed up in South Africa showed up on ships.
Kendall.
People that were walking around with sticks. Things of that
They had ships.
nature.
They were the first people to navigate the world.
I'll definitely answer your question. In terms of the white genocide meme, I have not always thought that that is the best meme because I think it sometimes can confuse people. Because, right now, white people in the United States, we're not being gunned down in the streets or rounded up. So I think that can sometimes confuse people. However, in terms of white farmers in South Africa, there is no other word to refer to what is happening to them other than genocide, period. The fact that we aren't collectively outraged about that fact demonstrates something terrible about the mass media, demonstrates something terrible about society. In terms of, what you could call genocide in Europe, it's probably something different. We aren't seeing the bloody massacres of families and so on. What we're seeing is some bullets to a large degree. But you have masses of people who are crossing, they're young men, massive young men, that is the age of soldiers. They're crossing borders, they're entering foreign capitals, and at the end of the day, they're raping women, which unfortunately is the end of most wars that we know, sad to say. So we are witnessing a world war with this so-called refugee crisis. And it is in many ways a war against ourselves because we are allowing it to happen. We are inviting it with insane lunatics who should be thrown into padded rooms, including Angela Merkel.
Are you excited about the populist uprisings going on in Europe? And
There's a lot to be excited about. Yeah, definitely.
We have about 10 more minutes, so we've got 2-3 more people.
So try to keep your questions really succinct, and I will too.
Well, I was going to start off with kind of a long speech, but now I won't. I'll make it a little shorter and sweeter. But I recently read on the news today via Daily Mail that apparently the white death rate was outpacing the white birth rate in 1/3 of the United States. And this wasn't shocking to me because births have been outnumbering deaths amongst whites, and our population has been shrinking for several years now. And I realize, and many other sane people realize, it's a trend that's not likely to reverse itself. And we can spend our time focusing on all the negatives, like police brutality, or Emmett Till, or Dylan Booth, or Omar Mateen, or all of those acts of atrocity. I'm asking you, okay, sorry I got a little carried off, but do you think there is a way where we can all forge our identities, be it an African American identity, a Hispanic identity, a Native American identity, any kind of identity, LGBTQ, and have a positive conversation about all the issues that are going on instead of using our identities to just keep being so divisive? I mean, there's nothing wrong with focusing on your European identity. Is there a way I can positively focus on my European identity and not alienate or cause tension amongst other identities?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, there is. I think you're almost like a faulty assumption that becoming who you are, being who you are, is going to inherently alienate or jeopardize the safety of others. It's not. Identity is about us. It's about recognizing who we are, and then changing our mind. The world is going to start changing. So that's what it's about. We don't have to worry about things like you're going to alienate someone or something like that. It's about getting in touch with your heritage and yourself. All right, thank you. How can I resist that?
So I myself identify conservative as well, and frankly, you're kind of scaring me away from that label because something that we as conservatives believe in is individualism and liberalism, right? Individual rights and whatnot. And something that I think is one of the purest evils of the left is identity politics, and it strips people of their humanism and turns them into nothing more than social constructions based on their skin color. Now, how is it that you, with your identity politics and your economic fascism and tariff touting, how is it that you presume to call yourself a conservative in a nation where conservative ideals differ so completely.
I don't call myself a conservative. I never have.
You said it 3 times in the speech.
Well, I don't consider myself a conservative. Yes. Apparently, being an individualist consumer is a way of having identity, whereas understanding your heritage and you're part of an extended family, that's becoming a deracinated social construct. Right.
I have 2 questions, if I may.
Sure.
The first one is, tonight you said that only white people who have built this great country.
Yes.
And that it was not the hands of the people who built it, like, for example, the slaves that built the White House, but the brains of the architect that built it. That's what matters. So what do you say to the Mayans in Central America or the Incas in Peru who built great civilizations with both their hands and their brains? Because there were no white guys to be around.
I don't really have anything to say other than I respect your people and your civilization. I mean, it's not mine.
So if you hadn't wiped out the Native Americans, they could have built a great country themselves. And it wouldn't be the white America that you think it is.
I mean, look, you can come up with lots of stories like this. I mean, the fact is history went one way. I mean, Europeans conquered this continent, we dominated it, we determined what kind of states would arise. So you can talk about how we could have had an Inca America or something, but it's just, it's academic.
No, that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is that not only white people built great countries, not only white people
It's not really, I wouldn't describe, like, Incan or Aztec civilization as a country. I wouldn't describe it really as a country. I would describe it as a civilization.
It was a country for them before it was
okay.
defined.
I don't want to get into semantic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said today also that you are not really proud or in agreement with the state of European politics nowadays. But do you then agree or basically feel proud of the time when Europeans went into foreign lands to kill people, to kill Native Americans, or to slave people and think that they were their property? Is that what you're proud of?
You know, I ultimately am, when you say you're proud of a European history, I believe you actually have to own it all. And that doesn't mean that I want to engage in imperialism or in slavery and so on. But you have to own it. You can't just pick out the nice parts. For instance, you can't admire Incan or Aztec civilization and then just forget about, say, human sacrifice or something like that. You have to own it. Okay, you agree. I own European civilization. I don't want to repeat many things that we did, and I would never claim that everything we did was of the highest moral character. I wouldn't claim that. But I own it. It's me.
So by owning it, you can also learn from your mistakes and look out into the future and think that all the things that were done in the past didn't really get you to anything positive. So maybe your logic can be modified so we can all live in the same country and still accept each other.
I agree with maybe 90% of what you just said. Yeah, I do think you can learn from the past, absolutely. I don't think we can all live together in the same country, unfortunately, if there's going to be happiness.
Howdy. First of all, I want to thank you for being here. You've helped us all reinforce our individual ideals, whether for or against. But on to my question. You talk about identity a lot, especially identity of the alt-right and your identity. I want to ask, do you recognize the so-called Nazi salute as a symbol of Nazi Germany, or do you feel it is a symbol that has since lost its meaning and a symbol?
There, I think the term Nazi and the swastika and so on had a tremendous amount of resonance immediately after the Second World War, and just as a matter of time passing, I think it loses a lot of that power over time. Even if you look at, say, the late 70s, amongst, say, punk rock bands and so on, there was a lot of ironical adoption of fascist paraphernalia and symbols and so on. So even at that point, I think it was losing a lot of its direct connection. As I said before, people, the alt-right with, a fashy meme or something, it's both. It is a symbol to the establishment of saying, anytime anyone has any sense of themselves and they're white, you're called, oh, you're a fascist, you're a KKK, you're literally Hitler. And it's just a kind of sense of like, fuck you. Like, I'm throwing it back in your face. So I would also say that there's a clear generational divide. There's a clear, hey, we can stay here a little bit longer.
No, we can't. No, Spencer. No.
Okay, I'll get one more question from this girl. I'm sorry, we can't. I'll answer your question afterward.
You just recently stated that you believe in an elite, an alt-right elite that should run it, and that would be a better place. So, do you feel that it is morally correct to build an elite that would make jokes about autism or other disabilities? Do you back up your joke earlier? I'm sorry, this is really personal for me. If you had a nephew or a son who was autistic, would you make that joke and feel okay about it? Because I have a nephew that's autistic, and that's not okay.
I will be perfectly honest. I think there needs to be some more trolling. I think there needs to be more humor in this world. I think there needs to be more jokes. Just look, when we reach some point where we're afraid to use words because it might conceivably offend someone, we've lost some of the basic aspects of our civilization. So look, offend away. Call me Whitey if you want. It's fun. Everyone, thank you. Thank you, Texas A&M. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Wait, I need to follow somebody. Somebody who went live the whole entire time.
I went live the whole time.
You did?
Yeah. No, Twitter.
Twitter?
Yeah.
Simone? Yeah, I'm trying.
She's getting
I'm just trying to get. I'm just trying to. Can I, Elena? What's she say? Okay, what's your name?
Chibby Imo, CHIBBY. I am right there. Top.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. He's shaking people's hands outside?
Oh, the guy has like something tattooed on the top of his head.
What the hell?
Talk with me if you want, because I'm not going to unless you have something to do. We've lost contact with him.
Have a good night, man.
Yeah, you too. Y'all stay safe.
What's that? Oh, no. I can't imagine it being exact. We played football together at New Mexico Military Institute. Pretty good guy.
So is my value not important? Is my belief not important?
Your belief is wrong.
Okay, and so the idea of identity is that I should be able to be proud of being European American without having the term racist or neo-Nazi or fascist go along with that. Richard Spencer has very extreme viewpoints in wanting, ethnic states based on ethnicity.
Have a good evening, y'all.
Thank you. It's that I should be able to
Wow. Where am I? Are the buses still running? I hope the buses are still running.
Yeah, they are. It's running at 12.
Oh. I need to go study for my test.
Study without we can do some more than this one.
Okay, we had to come out a different side.
Engineering test yet?
Huh?
You take the engineering test yet? Was it easy or hard?
No, it wasn't that hard. It was like, know your MATLAB. Fuck y'all. Fuck all of y'all. Hey, y'all scared to look. But yeah, you gotta know your MATLAB. And how to get a LabVIEW code and turn that into MATLAB. And you'll be good.
Okay.
If you know your MATLAB, you're good.
Okay.
And SAS from Excel. You have to know like, you know them 4 S's?
4 S's.
It's in your engineering communication. Sincerity. All of you could, it's on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's on the test. There's like 2 points.
Yeah, it ain't hard.
Cool.
Really?
Oh,
awesome.
This is ridiculous.
Hell yeah.
I'm about to walk to the annex.
All the slapping. Don't look over here, boy. You follow me? I ain't worrying about you. Keep walking. Sheldon. Yeah. Look at that. It's all smack his ass in the mouth. Only thing that pissed me off is being racist, bro.
What was he saying?
That's the nigga that came up there. Remember when all the niggas got crowded up? Yeah. That was my homeboy that went up there with the sign. Niggas start pushing people and shit. With his fat ass.
I was just
I slapped all that ass on me.
I was just mad that like when that
We're not in MSC no more. I'm gonna start smacking niggas. Let me find out that. Yeah. They ain't gonna say who they is either. It was claiming in there, claiming out here.
Claim all.
What?
I claim all.
On me, I'm about that shit. What you wanna do? Come over here. Hey, come over here. Hey, slow down. Why you walking faster? Come here. Y'all hollering at me?
They can be at you.
They can be. Hey, we bought that shit, boy. They can be at you. Hey, don't talk to me like that, boy. Yeah. Keep walking, homeboy.
Slap our ass. Guys, it's not worth it, guys. We should just make it home, alright?
Don't worry about me.
I'm worried about everybody, alright?
You keep worrying about everybody but me.
Oh, we can walk back together. Come on.
Yeah, we want to look at
We both
moving forward together.
Because we know talk shit and then they don't.